a gang of doofuses trying to cheer Yuki on to being like, communication. Welcome back to a wonderful review of Wonderful Precure. And today we have Lillian's debut. And we start off with little baby Mayu. And we talk about how her sort of flavor of shy that she is. Because we've had shy characters in the franchise before. We've had our Tsubomi and our Yaoi. Now we have Mayu. And her type of shy, which seems to be like so much more like fearful and paralyzing. And it's not as goofy as we've seen with Tsubomi and Yaoi's flavor of shyness. And as we will review in this episode, I'm gonna go between having like serious moments and then just utter goofiness, because let's talk about this little girl on the left with the volleyball, this little opportunist. Mayu is cowering in fear, Miss Ma'am. She is going through it, and what does this girl do? Throws the ball at her. Like she said, I know an opportunity when I see one. Free points for dodgeball. I swear to God. I give it that she did not throw it that hard, but ma'am, you did not have to throw it at Mayu. You did not have to do her that way. Anyways, back to the important. We have this sequence where we're kind of reaffirmed that one of the things that's helped bring Mayu out of her painful shyness is Yuki and her relationship with Yuki. And we've seen that from episode 1, that Yuki has pushed Mayu to be braver, to not like fall into her shell. And I like that. I also like that we go from this to this level of like 180, which you usually don't have this 180 break when you do the storyboarding for animation. We have this just absolute dissonance from the scene, and then Mayu just being like, you know, without you. It's very sad. This is also me when I don't have my cat in the morning. Feel this level of and that ultimately for the episode we're gonna see a lot of Mayu thinking Yuki's mad at her, and then Yuki thinking that Mayu's mad at her, and that's their conflict. And then back to goofy silly stuff. This is so funny for her to just be sitting here like on this pole. Like she could have just been sitting on the roof. No, she's sitting on the tippy top of the antenna-y thing on the roof of Pretty Holic, which I can say that this is 100% real because my cat does this. One time I looked in my backyard and saw a tree. Like I have a really big tree in my childhood backyard, and my cat just was floating next to the tree. And it was not until I like got closer that I realized that there was a branch that had broken off like a bajillion years beforehand and like stuck out all of an inch off the tree, and she was just standing on that precariously. Again, she just looked like she was floating. Cats are goofy silly. I do have a lot of screenshots, especially for the transformation, so I'm gonna skip a little bit of the bits going on here. We have a short moment where Komugi, Satoru, and Iroha are discussing how they're trying to find the Garu. Komugi's whining because she thinks she's a bad dog for not being able to smell out the scent of the Garu, but we make some jokes being like, it's fine, Komugi, you know, some animals are good at certain stuff and bad at other things. You know, we can't be the best all the time. And then transfer over to talking about the hamster, and we transition into this scene. Now, the reason why I put this scene in here, though, is because this, I think, this small little snippet we see of the antagonist might play into trying to figure out what the overall mystery is for the story, where he specifically tells the hamster to feed into his emotion of revenge and anger. And this is interesting because now that we see that there's some kind of established relationship between the wolf and the unicorn from ages past, that my theory right now is that the Nico Garden was somewhere that Nico-sama took a lot of the animals because he did not believe that the animals could live in peace with humanity, and sort of put them in this one location where they could prosper. But to the wolf, maybe that felt like a prison, that the animals were forced to leave their homes in favor of just like letting humanity take the big old earth. And that part of maybe his revenge plan is to take all those Nico Garden animals and motivate them to retake Earth for their own, blaming humans for their current situation, which I think would be a good backdrop for what's going on in this series, and obviously how having a cat and a dog as two of the main characters being like, this is dumb, we will fight against the evil, humans and animals can be friends. I think that would play very nicely into the story, but let me know your own theories down below. I'm kind of interested. Switching back over, we have Mayu not able to find Yuki, but she is able to find Mother, who talks a little bit more about the Cat's Pack, because the Cat's Pack obviously is the thing we're trying to sell at the moment. So we get to see we get to see it in the show and remind kids that it exists. I do like that they drew it in, though. Usually they throw in the 3D model, but I like it when they hand draw it. And I also did not realize until like they announced it as an actual product IRL that the Cat's Pack was like makeup was in it. It makes so much more sense now why people are excited about it, because before I thought it was just like a fancy little badge, and I was like, that's kind of whatever. But now that it's like a pack with makeup, I'm like, yeah, this item is so pretty. I think this is one of the prettiest items I have ever owned for Precure, and it's nice that it's got the eyeshadow in the. We also established what a Lillian is, because I think a lot of people were very confused at what in the world a Lillian was, and I think there's still a level of confusion of what a Lillian is. is. So this is a quote-unquote Lillian bracelet, with Lillian being a knitting kit that was really popular in Japan, so that's why a lot of people who are not from Japan are like, we don't know what a Lillian. It was I believe a brand kit, so I think it's interesting that they named a character Lillian, because I think Lillian was a brand. I think initially started somewhere in Europe that was like a sewing brand, but like, you know, watered down by the time it got into Japan to being like sewing little knitting kit, kind of all being the same way. I'd have to look into the history of it, but we get a definition for it. I feel like with some of the weirder words that we've gotten in the franchise, they've bothered to explain. I remember that it taught me the word effervescent for pure lemonade, since I had no idea what that meant. So, you know, we get some little language tidbits, some more useful than others. And we established that, like, Mayu has always been somebody who's crafted and making stuff for other people, and just kind of sharing the love has been part of her whole personality and been one of the ways she branches out. And that helping others and caring about others is a big part of her personality, with helping her get the realization that Yuki is doing what she's doing for her, but Mayu is also doing what she's for Yuki. And then again, to go back to the goofy silliness, her mom Nya is away. That happened. And then we have Yuki outside, and I'm glad she meets up with Iroha, Komugi, and Satoru, where the three of them are like, hey, we get that what you're doing is because you love Mayu and you don't fear her, but it's not doing any good staying this far away from her. Like, you should sit there and communicate with your words to your owner, who you love very passionately. And while this does not immediately work for her, I do like that this ends up being one of the pieces for Yuki kind of getting on better terms with the girls. Like, again, I'm glad that they're not immediately having her 180. I think this is just one small step in Yuki becoming a part of the group and really feeling like she understands. But of course it can't be perfect, because she immediately goes back to her ways and tries to take down the hamster, at which the girls are like, no. And then I like that they once again use the hamster power. I kind of wish they did for those. I kind of wish they did this for the rest of the Kirin. He uses the shrink beam on them instead of himself, and essentially nerfs the girls for the rest of the episode, which is nice, because again, the power scaling when you introduce new cures has always been kind of a frustration I've had with the franchise, where cures will come in and be unreasonably powerful, because for some reason the rest of the group couldn't keep it together for one enemy. And then for some reason the mid-season is suddenly the same strength of everybody else. It's not always consistent. I like that for this series. One, fighting is not a priority, but two, they're all small. They can't deal with the hamster. They need somebody who has not been shrunk and is a cure to take care of the Garu Garu. The writing on that is just like, it's better, makes more sense, and it doesn't feel like Mayu is overpowered, and it doesn't feel like it takes away from the skills and power of the other three. Because as we can see here, it doesn't really work when Nyami, despite being small, like, she's not bringing anything in the strength department when itty bitty. To which Mayu comes to her rescue and is like, hey, I keep putting myself in danger because I don't want to see you hurt because you matter to me. And talking about how this relationship that both of them have given to one another has been something that's really helped both of them grow and mattered. And it's just this love for each other and this fighting for each other is what has been their strength, has been the crux of their relationship. I also think it's really nice because I don't think it's been too terribly often that another cure has been their sole reason why someone has become a cure. Usually it's like, I want to protect my friends, or I notice something like is going down, and we usually just incrementally drag more people into the group. But because this season is so pair-oriented, it feels very refreshing to have like Iroha and Komugi both being each other's reasons why they became cures, and now Nyami has solely become a cure on the grounds of wanting to protect Mayu, and Mayu is about to become a cure on the grounds of wanting to protect Nyami. We also have once again this eye motif that they did a lot with these two, as she's about to become Lillian. Also again, goofy silly moments, throw in just the two of our two cures being super small, sitting on Satoru. And I do like right before Mayu becomes cure Lillian, we do have this small moment of Yuki being like, of Nyami being like, no. And of course we get into our transformation, of which I have many screenshots, so buckle in, here we go. First, we have this curtain. I did not expect her transformation to be so theatrical, since her thing has been sewing, but I guess this is their way of tying in sewing to the series. Though I do wonder if this means that like theater is going to be where her sewing like evolves in the series, like if they get involved in theater at school or something along those lines. I don't know. Curtain comes down and we see the similarities to Nyami's transformation, which I'm surprised how much it's not like Nyami's transformation. They're very different, and they definitely are timed very differently from one another. But we keep the Northern Lights. We also make a little bit more sense of why there's like this grass motif that we saw last time that we see here in the bottom right. It makes a little bit more sense for her a little bit, yeah, a little bit no. And we see this little cat come back. Absolutely love the little Yuki. I love how hard they go for her transformation. I like that they also do the bit where they put her hair down. I love it when they put her hair down, or they put the hair back up in the big fan of that. We see the integration of the makeup. Eyeshadow. I also did not realize, I didn't think I paid too much close attention to it before, but I didn't realize her cure form had so many colors in her eyes. It's got this like this yellow, pink, purple, and green. This like we've had multi-tier colors before, but I always just thought it was red. I guess it's one of those things where if you see the colors far enough away, they kind of bleed in to look like another. But she's very cute. I love it. I also love the glow effect. As somebody who recreates these in After Effects, I absolutely love these sparkly fractal base glows that they have for when they're transforming. I love it when we see like just the dress part without all the adornments. It looks so pretty. Like I'd love a sundress just like this. You'll note that her hair will be a little bit more minty than green as it was when it was glowing. Throw that out there. I also love that in this background we have these strips of lace which kind of match Nyami just lines that she had before. Also again seeing this kind of textured pattern. They have a couple of different textured patterns for the glows here, specifically for her gloves. And then we have this sort of nod to Sailor Moon with the pink ribbons that do not stay pink. They go into this green glow, and then her ribbon around her neck is like a navy. And then, of course, her white gloves. And then the slight, like the remaining pink accent, I think is just the straps. And of course, we put on our lipstick. Gotta sell that product. Here again, the glow, we see a little bit more of that line again. We also see it have that kind of crisscross pattern that we had with Sailor Moon. Again, feels like a little bit of a nod there. I love it a lot. I think it looks really nice in this green. I think her boots are really cute. I also like that we have the pearls on the shoes, which match the pearls that she has for earrings. I feel like every season they kind of like shove in pearls on one of the characters. And while I do adore her hair while it was down, I do love the way that she just kind of like floops her hair into the ponytail. Very pleasing. And of course we bring in her headband with a little hat. Super, super cute. Little tiny top hat. And then we do this like nice little round, the pink ribbon that will ultimately become the asymmetrical ribbon on the front, as well as we have again the sort of floral naturey pattern at the bottom right creeping back in. And all of this is just so pretty. They really did a phenomenal job with her. Just like, the choreography, the effects, so nice. The bow looks really, really good here. And then again, back to the theatrics, like you have this like white light spotlight, and this like profession to the sky sort of scene. It's so pleasing, very dramatic. You know, I get that the poses will always kind of look a little weaker here because you have to fit in the whole like full body thing, and you can only make the line art but so thin with the way that they do animation nowadays. There's something about the ending pose here that always looks not as clean. But that's okay because we move right into her lines, which is there, which is so cute for her. It makes a lot of sense, like her just being this like loving, gentle, caring person, while also having her like somewhat dramatic, sassy design. Like it just really works in a way that I didn't know how I was gonna feel about it, because again, a lot of cures don't always look the way that their character is characterized. But the way she behaves here is nice. I do gotta point out, though, the lack of budget. I think we spent a little too much on Nyami in the animation department. It's great to see her move around and run around and very much in a more confident version of Mayu deal with the Garu Garu. It's also nice to see everybody, like, both have nervousness and cheer her on. I do like that both Satoru and Yami are like, but Iroha and Kumugi, but Friendy and Wonderful are like, yes, yes, yes. But the animation was kind of lacking here. We had a lot of like freeze poses and they're like, whoa, look at her go. She's so graceful and beautiful. Look at that. I'm like, there's something inelegant about it being just all these freeze frames. There's something that's just not elegant about it. They're trying. I see them trying, but like the lack of animation kind of killed the momentum of this scene for me. I think other people ate this up, but I'm a little like, I know we put a lot of budget into the Nyami attacks in the past few episodes, so I get it. We had to chill out. That also was a phenomenal transformation, so we have everything. And then we have this net instead of the shield. I think in the next episode they showcase her using it like more of a shield. So I don't know if it's just one of those things where we added another cure, but we didn't want him to be the same as the other one. So she's a little bit unique. She doesn't have a ribbon shield like the other three do. She has this floral net, which net makes sense with her theme being sewing. It being a nature net feels like we got a lot going on with Lillian, but I'm not gonna complain too much because it's pretty. You know what? You can get away with a busy design if it's pretty. And she ultimately takes care of the hamster. In place of everybody else, we were able to go back to our normal hugging bit, and she's able to conquer the hamster, the power of resistance. Oh, I also do like that Yuki explains the reason why she keeps fighting the hamster earlier was on the grounds that that Friendly and Wonderful were not purifying it fast enough. I did like the sauce. Also, I gotta give it to him because the Garu always be looking the way they do. But the kitty animals are cute. I'm like, I've had enough of this hamster after all these episodes. But it's cute. This little baby hamster. I'm like, that's okay, baby. Okay, you went on stage. You're adorable. They got me. Also thought it was funny that they transformed back and we just squashed Satoru. The victim of the episode. Like, look at this little guy. Look at him in little Lillian's hands. I forget that they're so tiny. They look so much bigger when we don't see them, like, directly next to a carrot. They look so small. They're little tiny plushies you can purchase. Also, this sequence was also just directed really well. You have her standing here, and she's all injured still. We got our little, like, scratch marks on her. And the wind blows, and she transforms back. She's still injured! I don't know why that's hitting me. Like, that kind of got me teared up. I don't know why, but, like, I don't know how often they've just transformed back and they're still injured unless it was, like, a big fight where they have to now use the power of hope to transform again. He's, like, all beat up. And then we have this, like, they cut this in a different way because you see her as Lillian, and then it switches to Yuki, and it switches back to her as Mayu, but I put them back one by one. Because I wanted to show, like, they literally took the same pose and just didn't show her transform back. I like this cut. This was really pleasing to me. And then you have the gang of doofuses trying to cheer Yuki on to being like, communication, communication. Iroha's like, go, go, go. Kamugi's like, fight, fight, fight. And Satoru's like, I hope everything works out. And it does. We have Mayu sit out to her. Hey, I'm doing this because I love you. And having Yuki cry and, like, soften up. And both of them just explain that they love each other and that they're not mad at each other at all. Hug it out, as we should. I was in tears. I'm not gonna lie, this moved me emotionally. And then we have her transform into a happy Yuki. Into a happy little Beepins. Oh my god, I'm gonna hug my cat, making me feel. We end on a soft little note with one of these, like, nicely drawn scenes at the very end. I love that. I love when we do that. Overall, it was a good episode. I really loved her debut. I'm so glad that she's gonna be in the gang. I'm interested to see where the series is going now because I feel like so much of my expectation for the series is like, alright, well now we're gonna build to Nyam. Alright, we're gonna build to Lillian. Like, I feel like so much of this series is just building up the other, like, building into Cure's existing. That now that we're not dragging it out for another Cure introduction as we have had this whole season, I'm like, where are we gonna go with the story? Like, they've definitely not taken the foot off the gas when it comes to stories. So I know we're gonna be doing a little bit of Lillian. Alright, we're gonna do a little bit of Mayu, Yuki, Lillian, Yami still going forward because we have to get their purification on the table. But after the purification, I don't know what to expect. There's a lot of debate still about whether or not the series is going to have a mid-season Cure or not, which seems to be the biggest argument is, are we going to even have one? Is this going to be like Smile? I'm telling you, I better get something. I do not want it just to be a power-up. I'm begging you, please put another character in the show. Or give it to Satoru and Daifuku. I'm not gonna be upset when it doesn't happen. I'm not gonna be upset when it doesn't happen. But nonetheless, that's where everybody is at the moment. That's where the series is. I'm excited to see what's going on. I'm really happy that we crept in some plot on top of having, like, the characters established. This was an exciting move forward. This was a lovely debut. I don't think things are completely smoothed out for these two, but we get a couple of episodes to see that move into a smoother direction, because I feel like for Kamugi and Iroha, things were really pleasant to begin with, but then we started to have a little bit of issues. This started so rocky that I'm hoping that it just progresses into being more pleasant moving forward, just to be the opposite of what we've seen thus far. Also, I do not know if I will be doing an episode next week or if I'm going to skip next week and then combine 21. We will see, because I'm so sorry. I'm I'm doing so much traveling this summer, which is why episodes have been showing up a little bit later on space. But nonetheless, I will be getting you out an episode at some point for these, so look forward to it. And let me know how you feel about the series. If you've made it this far, let me know. Tell me your feelings. Tell me your theories. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye!